Okay, hello everyone, Mystery here, and time for a quick video. This is something that I'm just putting out here condensed because I want to lock in my choices for the update, or for what we're going to learn about the update coming tomorrow. Tomorrow is the 22nd, meaning that Skulls will be live for us here on the East Coast at 11 o'clock Eastern, so probably by about 2 o'clock I should have information to you via Sloptide News about whatever they're going to show there. I anticipate that we will know by then roughly what to expect. Is it going to be new maps? Is it going to be a new playable character? Is it going to be, gene stealers or whatever it might be? So I'm going to go ahead and use this opportunity to lock in my picks. If you didn't watch my video, or our video, I should say, Genticus, Joe Plays Games, and we all just did a sit down for like an hour and basically did a podcast talking about what we all expect or what we hope to be in this update based on what the information we saw or our other sources of just kind of introspection. But I wanted to condense all that and put it right here so that, if I'm right, I'll leave this video up forever and I'll point to it and say, God damn it, I'm so good. But if I'm wrong, I'm going to delete it immediately. So this might be the last time you ever see it, guys. Let's get into it. What do I think that teaser was about? What do I think the main line part of this update is going to be? I think it is a new class. I think the class is going to be an arbitrator, which is like a military police, and I think that they will have a cyber mastiff as the sidekick. That is what I interpret the teaser to have shown. That's what I think we were seeing running over those barrels and stuff and attacking. I think they can send the Cyber Mastiff after enemies and have them killed. There's a couple different sound cues in there that would point to this being a servo-driven monster machine sort of animal thing. And we have recently seen this class be I think it's about to be added to Rogue Trader, which recently had a crossover with Darktide. I also had some information dropped to me in one of the comments on my previous video about this, saying that they spoke to one of the people on the design team who said that the class that was coming started with an A. So I think this fits the theme for me. So I am like 99% locking in on this here. I think that's a really, really solid chance. I want to also first start by talking about new weapons, because every class has to have some weapons that are unique to it, right? I think when we were discussing on the video a couple days ago, it was like every class has at least 4, and I don't think this class is going to be any different. I don't know a whole lot about classes, or weapons rather, that exist within the 40k lore. I imagine there's quite a few, but the easy ideas that I came up with is that this class is going to have a police theming. And so my immediate thoughts were that there is going to be like a riot shield plus weapons. And so the two easy ones are the shock maul and the shredder pistol plus the shield. I think those are probably the shock maul and the shield is going to be usable with all classes, because that would be super cool on Zealot, and people have been asking for shield gameplay for a while. It's certainly something within the lore. It's certainly something that players could be using, and shields exist on the Ogren, right? So the rigging is all there. And then shredder pistol, being that they just buffed it, you can run while you're shooting it. It would be super cool if you could be advancing with a shield like this is fucking Call of Duty. I mean, like you're a cop who's got a riot shield one hand and a gun in the other, right? So this is my call for a couple of weapons, and then a shotgun with some sort of specialized shells. When I mentioned this, talking with Jefficus, he said that there is like a bolt shotgun. There's also apparently like something called like an executioner shotgun that shoots like seeking slugs or something like that could be really cool, that could be implemented into the game. I just think it's going to be a shotgun of some sort. Shotguns are very much in the vibe of, I think, what they're going for here, right? And with this, so these are my 1% that'll hit this. If I call these, I'm going to be pretty dang proud of having called any of these, but I will be exceedingly proud if I call this, which is that because this would be contingent upon getting the shock maul up, or as part of this player's kit, and upon getting the shotguns or a new shotgun as part of the kit, a general rework to some of the weaker weapons in the game, some of the least used weapons in the game, getting them onto equal footing. And I think that there is a good chance we will see some extensive weapons reworks with this update, because they have started to do that recently. They've updated the Shredder auto pistol. They've made some buffs to other weapons. They just redid Ogren's entire arsenal, right? So I think they're focusing on that, which makes me think that if we are going to get some of these weapons, I think they'd be a good time to update them. I'm like a 1 in 1,000 or 1 in 10,000 this will happen. All right, let's go on to talk about blitzes. Blitz abilities, our grenade abilities, right? My thoughts were that grenades are becoming a little bit of a luxury resource in the game. What I mean by that is many times you just walk by them, right? You might have an Ogren who chucks 3 of grenades and then just picks up the pack and moves on. But most times you're not like, oh shoot, we need another pack of grenades now. Grenades are underutilized because there's a whole class who doesn't use grenades. There's a whole another class who prints his own grenades. And then we've got Ogren who has rock and knife on the zealot. So there's not that much demand for grenades going around. So I think that there's a good chance that this class will have at least 2 of his 3 blitzes be oriented towards extra grenades, or like using grenades, I mean, like as an actual resource. So my first blitz is a non-grenade resource, and that would be something that sends the dog crazy. Actually, I want to edit this while I'm here because I saw a good comment. I'm going to give it an or. This is lowering the accuracy of my prediction. But or lowering the precision of my prediction, rather. What I want to say is this could be something that's on like a cooldown where you can send the dog into a frenzy and it will move faster, it'll hit harder for a certain amount of time with use of this charge. Or something that has been in a lot of footage is these arbitrators, oftentimes they're not just controlling one animal in many different pictures, such as the one I featured in the thumbnail for the last video where I was talking about, hey, like this has been teased. The arbitrator there is using both a Cybermassive and a Cyber Falcon. If there was a blitz where you could throw the Falcon, and if you played Borderlands 1, Mordecai, the ranger or the hunter in that game, he has the Falcon, who you throw him out, and what's his name? Talon? No, something Wing, right? It's okay, he dies in the second one. Spoilers. And you throw him out, and he bounces around between enemies and does damage to them. And that could be something that the bird, that could be something they implement in the game for a certain. Like, it could use the exact same AI rigging as Sienna's Flaming Skull from Vermintide 1, or Vermintide 2, rather. So maybe that's the cooldown based thing. The second one that I think is probably pretty probable is something with like area denial. We have plenty of like straight up damage grenades, but one thing that I think Joe pointed out during this was that this game is lacking in like area, like you cannot pass through this area sort of thing. Like enemies will go around fire if they can, but if they can't, they'll walk through the fire. But we don't have anything that just straight up says you cannot get through this, like the hedge from Sister of the Thorn in Vermintide 2. So we know that AI like modification like that exists. So if there was like a web grenade where you could throw it and it would web off an entrance or a door and just completely lock down that doorway, or shock or like paralyze every enemy that tries to come through it, that would be really, really big. And I think it would be very fitting with the sort of aesthetic that we're going for here, right? Like securing the zone as the police. And then we've got my favorite idea, which I really, really hope, as I said in the, I want to call it a podcast, I'll call it the Slopcast. As I said in there, I really hope I'm manifesting this into reality. So if it's not in there, Fat Shark, you got like a month to work on it. Slap it in there, please. An Auspex beacon. There should be some sort of way that you can command the dog to go do interactables for you, to go hack the console, to go open that door, that chest, and fetch whatever's in there. I don't think that would be an ability that you could have on cooldown because it would be way too powerful. But if it takes grenade resources to do it, then you have a situation where, do we, if you just pass this guy some grenades, he can use the dog to do all of the hacking in the arena while we stay safe, and the dog will just knock it out. So that could be a really, really valuable thing for this class to be able to do, and it's definitely something that exists within the lore, is that these cyber mastiffs can act as like remote access to systems. All right, then we got to go down and talk abilities, which is probably the thing most players are interested in. There are a ton of ideas here. Listen, I'm just throwing 3 out. I could sit here and guess all day, just shoot my shot and hope to hit something in the dark. But I'm shooting 3 shots that I think are pretty safe. At least one of these I have a high hopes will end up in here. The first one is charging in with your dog at your side. So wherever your dog is, when you charge, they rally to you, and then you will do some sort of like AoE stun or damage upon impact. The reason I'm saying that it has some sort of effect like that is we already have a charge through the enemies and CC in the form of the Ogren's Indomitable, and we already have the high single target, like it boosts your attack charge from Fury of the Faithful on the Zealot, right? So we need something to differentiate that. I think it makes sense that this class is going to be a lockdown class, that they are going to be a CC focused class. They're going to support the team. They're going to do damage, but they're also going to provide lots of CC utility, because that's something that like the game doesn't really have a whole lot of outside of Ogren. And so I think the good way to differentiate this is like if you charge into enemies and there's like a 1 second stun on everything that you charge into, and at least like interrupts everything it's doing and gets it primed for you to kill. And then at the same time, this means that like the dog is going to be attacking the targets that you are close to. My second idea, and I think the one that we're seeing in the trailer, so this is almost certainly going to be one of the abilities, is that the dog will be able to be chosen as an assassin. So you can choose to specialize the dog. You can point at probably like a region of targets. It's probably not one specific target, but you can point at a region, and the dog will go and attack targets and eliminate targets wherever you point the ability at. So they'll probably start with anything you've got tagged or high priority targets, like, because the game knows what elites are and stuff like that. So it'll target those down first. And I imagine you'll be able to differentiate whether you want this dog to be doing high single target DPS. Like you can stick it on a boss and it'll just forever hit this boss and put bleed stacks on it and just do some considerable additional damage, or if you can specialize it into sweeping strikes, which would allow you to send it to an area and clean up like a horde or something that's coming in. So specializing it like that, really putting all your eggs into the dog doing the damage basket rather than having damage for yourself. My third idea, and because I think that we do need each class to have some sort of archetype that helps the team, is that there's going to be some sort of defensive dog protocol where you paint an area and the dog patrols that area, and perhaps it hinders or like bites the ACLs out of every enemy that comes in there and slows them down. And at the same time, I imagine there will be some sort of regenerative effect. Regen effects in this game for your toughness aren't really like lore explained. Like, why would the shout replenish your toughness, your shields, or whatever, right? Why would taunting do that? That's sort of gamified, but I imagine there'll be at least one of these things. Somehow this class will restore other classes' toughness, and I imagine that whatever it is going to be sort of a defensive protocol for the dog. I could definitely see this being something very useful, is if you could paint the dog to an area and then he stopped enemies from getting into that specific area, guards some doors or something. Okay, then we get to talk, the last thing here is keystones. There could be myriad keystones. Keystones range, as Jefficus mentioned in the video. You should go watch it if you haven't, by the way. Good little dynamic between all of us. Keystones range from being incredibly simple, like, hey, you just hit harder, if you're, everything in the Zealot is literally just that, or they're very complex, like Disrupt Destiny, where you have like stacks for getting headshots and you lose them for doing this and yada 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 on the Psyker. So this is literally just completely shots in the dark. I could be 100% wrong here. These are very small chances, so I left these kind of vague as compared to my other claims because of that. My first claim is that there will be some sort of dog synergy keystone whereupon attacking the same target, and preferably I think it'll be like a more of a melee focus keystone. When you're in close quarters and you attack a target in melee, your dog will prioritize attacking that target as well. And then, counteractively, if a dog has attacked a target and you attack him, it'll apply some sort of additional debuff to that enemy, or you'll get a buff for having attacked in tandem. I imagine that would work very, very nicely with a melee focused build. For a more ranged focused build, which we're probably going to have some ranged build with this class, I think that the dog will, in this setup, stay away from you. It'll stay at a range, and instead of actively like going and attacking enemies all the time or sticking by your side and attacking stuff, it's out there and it's scouting. So it's playing at a distance, and it's highlighting priority targets. Sort of how Disrupt Destiny does, where like it'll paint a new target for you to eliminate every couple of seconds, but this time it's going to highlight priority targets like specials. Like as soon as a trapper spawns in, it's going to path to it and it's going to highlight it, so you'll know where it's coming. This does have some overlap with Executioner's Stance on Veteran, quite obviously, but I imagine that I think that's a mechanic that's underexplored in the game, is like knowledge of where enemies are, and this could be pretty cool. It won't be as powerful, obviously, as Executioner Stance, because it doesn't expose every enemy at once, but it would expose it for your team, and killing them would give you some sort of buff. And then finally, some sort of utility dog. This is something that I talked a lot, or at least a little bit more about in the Slopcast, and what I'm thinking here is that there needs to be some sort of talent or somewhere where there's a trade-off where the dog can actually do a res on pick up an ally or save them from a cliff or something. Maybe not every time, because that would be very, very powerful if the dog could always do that, but maybe there's a cooldown on being able to do that, or maybe like if the dog does it, he's out of commission for like this amount of time. I don't know. But I think that one really cool thing, one cool idea that I cribbed from Warframe, is that in that game there are dogs, and those dogs will dig up resources for you, and that could be something that's very, very cool and valuable in this game. One of the resources that we don't see a whole lot of are stims, and there's no way to get more stims that are on the map. Same with like grenades and that sort of stuff. I think that if you had the ability for a dog to, if it gets a takedown on somebody, or like, it loots a chest, it has a chance to print something and put something in there if there wasn't otherwise. Like you can use its senses to find additional stuff. If there was some sort of way to bring this class and they supplement the team by, guaranteeing some stims drop from elite enemies or something like that, I could see utility being a very valuable thing for the dog if it can find additional combat enhancing things. I'm thinking stims are the big one, but occasionally ammo and stuff. I don't think finding health is on the table, because health is a very, very limited commodity. It balances the game, right? But finding stuff that help us to continue the fight, such as ammo and stims, would be definitely something that I could see this dog using its perception to do for the team. And that's everything, guys. So let me know down in the comments how crazy you think I am, what ratings you would give these different predictions, and we'll come back to this. We'll revisit this tomorrow or maybe the next day and see how accurate this was. Like I said before, all this is explored in the podcast or Slopcast or whatever we're calling it with Joe and Jeff. If you want to go check that out, it's up on the channel. Go, it's a good time. 1 hour of quality hangout time. You can pretend we're all your friends. I mean, we are actually your friends if you want to come and hang out sometime on a stream. But until then, I'll see you guys. Mr. Riata here. Very excited for tomorrow. Yay. Bye.